I do want to talk about what's happening in New England right now with the coronavirus and the states starting to lift restrictions on things. So, Massachusetts lifted most of, not most, a good portion of their restrictions earlier last week. I keep forgetting it's Sunday. It's a new week. So at the beginning of last week, phase 2, as they're calling it, started. And in phase 2, non-essential businesses can start to open. Most notably around Massachusetts, shopping malls are open once again, although it's up to the businesses to decide, in the individual businesses to decide whether or not they actually want to open. I'm looking at directories for the malls near me, and half the stores are open. The food courts aren't open. It's not. I don't think it's worth going just yet. But local businesses around here, though, otherwise the bars, restaurants, they're doing the outdoor seating, the outdoor dining. That's entertainment in Worcester. Oh man, I've been talking about this for months, hoping that they would survive, and they did, because I went and it shopped inside the other day, which was fantastic. That was a nice pick me up. So, but what's now? I know it's New Hampshire, and I know that they are largely uninhabited once you get to a certain point in the state's geography. But the state of New Hampshire is, for all intents and purposes, like completely reopened, or they will be on Monday. Yeah. And then by the end of the month, the things that will not open this coming Monday will be open. And that includes the amusement parks and theaters and things like that. They have just lifted the executive order to stay at home. They have lifted the mass gathering restrictions. They're sort of almost abruptly sort of reversing everything and saying, hey, we're just going to go back to the way things were. And in Massachusetts, obviously, because I think at this point are in fifth place for highest number of cases and highest number of deaths in the union, is still taking a very slow phased approach. So just with your guys' understanding of what's going on, do you think that Massachusetts has reopened too early?
I'm inclined to say yes. And I get it that it's a tough balancing act between people's health and the economy and the survival of some of these businesses that might not survive if they have to stay closed much longer. And it's easy for me, someone who is not a business owner, to say, well, fuck them. People's lives are more important. But that's where I'm at. I just think all we're liable to start seeing is it's just going to start again. We're just going to be in the exact same position months from now of, oops, we've got a ton of cases again. Everyone go home again. I just don't see it improving if we open everything up now.
Yeah, I'm going to have to second that. And also I will add that it's never gone down. We've never gone down. We've kind of plateaued. So this whole idea of like a second wave happening is not a real thing because we haven't gotten over the first wave.
Yeah.
And I too agree that it's probably the most difficult decision to make because the economy is super important. And how do you, like, even businesses that are open at certain percent capacity are struggling because they're like, that's not enough. But like at the same time, if people are dying, I've read this, I could be wrong, but it's very hard to spend money when you're dead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's largely, there may be some exceptions to that rule, but I think largely it's the case.
Yeah. So it's tough to say because like it's a weird situation because I think scientists are still trying to figure out what is causing it to plateau. Was it the fact that we were inside? Was it the fact that we were wearing masks? They're not really sure exactly why the numbers are doing what they're doing. And I think that's the most terrifying thing.
Well, everything I've seen has said that even if you start going outside again, even if you start congregating in groups, still wear your goddamn masks. And there's video footage of like popular streets in these big cities of people, hundreds of people crowded around, no masks. I saw a clip of probably yesterday or the day before, Hampton Beach, New Hampshire, where Jack and I spent many a wayward day of our youth. Just hundreds of people on the beach, not a mask in sight.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it kind of feels like we just gave up. We were just like, well, this is too hard. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I give up.
It does feel like that to me. And I have a hard time when I'm in public seeing somebody without a mask without just feeling this like rage in me to be like, I want to be super confrontational, but like, these are stressful times. Who knows what that confrontation is going to do to somebody?
Yeah, there's no point.
Yeah.
There's no point in
You're not going to change anybody's mind.
right. The only people I've seen not wearing masks are the elderly, which is sort of ironic, but and I'm not gonna fight with them too. I mean, like, more power to you.
Right?
The ones that irritate me are the ones who are wearing the masks, but they're not wearing them correctly. Like, their noses are still like their noses are hanging out. It's not like they just like put the mask down to breathe. It's they put it down ever so slightly so they're only covering their mouth. It's like, dude, you're missing the point. I mean, not to mention the fact that masks aren't going to prevent the spread at all. Like, even like the medical grade ones, the surgical masks that everyone is wearing, straight up say not to be used to prevent transmission of diseases. So
It's helpful.
do you guys believe in herd immunity?
That's a tough one.
From I mean, I would say I'm an expert, but from what I've heard, that's basically just where you keep enough people vaccinated that the disease can't really get a foothold in the community. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, my understanding of herd immunity, and I could be completely wrong because I never finished my PhD, is you have everyone just sort of develops like a natural immunity to it, just sort of like the common cold, right? Like, we can catch the common cold, but unless we already have pre-existing conditions that could exacerbate everything, like, we'll get over it, right? So that's how I understand it with this. Again, I could be wrong.
Yes. And I've heard that argument that it seems like people who got it once and survived are unlikely to get it again. But it's one of those things, it's like, are we okay with just letting like 10% of the population die horribly so the rest of us can make sure we're okay going forward? Or is that not a risk we're willing to take?
Yeah.
It seems like they're going to go the route of money. Like, hey, money's important.
I saw someone say, we really need to rethink the phrase avoid it like the plague, because apparently we don't do that.
New Zealand, a very interesting case in New Zealand. They have pretty much eradicated the disease. Now, if I remember correctly, New Zealand is like an island, right? Like, they're sort of cut off from the mainland, but they have effectively eradicated the virus to the point where soccer stadium sporting events are happening again. They have the big crowds. These are things that in the US, for example, they are petrified to do, and it'll be a long time, I think, before we'll be able to enjoy concerts and sporting events with crowds. But in New Zealand, they're already doing it because they are confident at this point that they have everything under control.
Yeah. And I mean, there are definitely places that have gotten it under control. It just comes down to testing and tracking. You got to have enough tests to find out who has it and then keep tabs on them to make sure they don't spread it. And then, any country that did that early enough is going to be in a good position by now. We just absolutely fucking didn't do that.
Yep.
Yeah. Social distancing, I think, has helped. The lockdown, the quarantine. I look at the numbers every day. I go on, I get everything from Reddit, but I get things from Boston.com. They're always reporting everything, and they put it in visual format. They do charts and other things for simpletons like myself to easily understand. And everything is trending downwards. I mean, we're still in the quadruple digits in terms of, reported cases versus deaths, but it's going down, especially if you look at March and then April, and then it just starts going down, and it's not going back up. I mean, knock on wood, it's not going back up. But I agree in that we are really highly at risk if we do not take caution with reopening everything, and especially with the unrest happening too. I mean, that's just going to exacerbate things even more.
I know it's one of those things where under normal circumstances, I would be very supportive of the protests and riots going on, but the exact moment in history that they happen to be unfolding in, I'm kind of like, guys, COVID doesn't care if you have a good reason for gathering together in public. It's still going to infect you.
Yep.
And the unfortunate part about that is that I've heard numerous reports about how it affects the Black community greater than the white community.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that's like biological so much as just they tend not to have as much access to testing or preventative measures.
Yeah.
Well, the unrest would have happened either way. It's just because everyone has been stuck inside and they haven't been able to do anything. That just made it 10 times
I mean,
worse.
I do wonder, it sounds cynical to say, but if the protests have been gaining so much steam because 40 million people are unemployed that were employed this time last year,
right?
So they're like, normally I'd love to protest, but I have work to go to. Now they're like, all right, fuck it, let's go.
Got plenty of time to kill. Not like I'm doing anything else. Might as go rob the Neiman Marcus.
I would love to protest. I am higher risk.
I normally work right near Boston, center of the city. I actually, the area right around where I work was the one night where looting did break out. Like everywhere right around the building where I work got hit. And I mean, I know other than that one night here in Boston, things have been very peaceful and calm. But like normally working there, it's great because like during my lunch break, if there's a huge protest going on, I can literally just take half an hour, swing down by City Hall, chant a few times, and then grab a hamburger and head back to the office. It's just a good location to be if you want to join in the middle of a day, and there happens to be some big climate change or gun violence safety, any kind of rally going on there. But now with, working from home, staying out, I'm not fucking going out over there to stand shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of people. I support them. I believe in their cause, but I lack the conviction, I guess, to want to put myself and them at risk of the virus to join in.
Yeah, it's I just fear for my own personal safety. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
If I'm going to protest, it's going to be I'm going to be the pussy that I am, and I'm going to sit behind my mic and go off about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
look, I'm a white male, so I've got it harder than anyone. But at least I can put up the courage to like make my profile picture a black square or something, and I think we can safely say I've solved racism. So you're welcome.
Last question: New Hampshire, with them just taking off the blanket, taking off the protective bubble. Do you think the risk is just going up because they're just saying fuck it?
I would guess.
It's a really weird situation. It's like I read about it, and I think right now it has to do with how contagious it is. Like it says we're at a 1, but if we're above a 1, it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm not a science guy at all, but it was basically like if you have it, how likely you are to spread it to one person versus two people, and then those two people become four people, and then those four people, it's math.
It's like a game of telephone almost.
Yeah. So it's a weird because they're thinking, oh, okay, maybe because of the warmer weather, like people are getting out more, and studies have shown that the virus has a hard time getting around in warmer weather. And they're not sure if it's because it's warm and the particles are traveling or what. So they're really scared that when it gets cold, that it's going to get a lot worse.
Yeah, the second wave, as they've been fearing. I mean, it was. Now, granted, everyone was doing testing in March when it was still winter when the outbreak happened. But, I mean, it was also winter. It was cold. It was flu season, and people were already at risk of getting sick with something to begin with.
Yeah.
So we will see. We'll see what happens in, oh God, like October, when it really starts to cool down.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. I'm assuming there's not going to be a vaccine available by then.
No, vaccine's probably not going to be till 2021.
Yeah. The last I read, a vaccine might be available by Christmas. That's a hard might. So we'll see.
What's funny is so I work for intellectual property firm, and our team specializes in biotech. So we get a lot of like medicines and vaccines coming through. It takes such a long time for this stuff to go through. We're just now starting to see progress on cases for Zika virus, which nobody gives a shit about anymore.
Zika.
That was a hot button item like 2.5 years ago. So a bunch of people rushed to start working on it. And now that like the government's finally getting around to reviewing those patents, it's like, yeah, no one needs this anymore. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, they don't care about spraying, the helicopters going around towns just spraying. I think I heard one thing about that this year, and it was specifically going to happen over a lake, like a swamp area. They don't care about Zika anymore. They've got bigger problems to worry about. So